Good afternoon and welcome to this webinar of FAWEC, the Farm Animal Welfare Education Center. For those of you who don't know us, FAWEC is a joint program of the vet school at the Autonomous University of Barcelona and 4 sponsors in the private sector. And these are Boehringer Ingelheim, Castañer, Lucta and Orsea. Today's webinar is going to be on tail biting and the use of enrichment material, a challenge for the pig sector. And our speaker this afternoon is Dr. Deborah Temple. Deborah is a scientist who has been with FAWEC from the very beginning of the project. She obtained her PhD at the vet school in Barcelona, and her main area of expertise is animal welfare assessment, particularly pig welfare assessment. The presentation by Deborah will last roughly for 40 minutes. After that, we'll have a break of 2 or 3 minutes. And immediately after the break, we'll start with the question session. During the presentation by Deborah, and also immediately after it, you are welcome to send your questions to the email address that appears on the screen now. That's info@fawec.org. So I give the floor to Deborah now.
Thank you all to be here. Thank you for your interest to this webinar on tail biting. So let's start with the webinar. Tail biting is both an animal welfare and economic problem for the pig industry. Tail-bitten pigs can lose appetite and prefer not to reach the feeder to avoid any further lesion, and this will lead to a reduced weight. Also, infection can develop and spread throughout the body, causing pyemia and abscesses, especially in the lungs. Farms affected by tail biting have higher treatment costs, cooling rates, and also more carcass condemnations. There have been several studies evaluating the cost of the economic impact of tail biting on the industry. And for example, in the Netherlands, tail biting cost losses of 8 million euros per year. In the UK, another study referred to 3.5 million pounds, or more or less 4 million euros. Tail biting is also linked to reduced job satisfaction, as nobody likes to work with ill animals. So tail biting is a big matter of concern, and so it has been a big challenge for different organisms. The European Commission makes several statements on tail biting, referring to the proper use of enrichment material, and make restrictions on tail docking as a preventing measure. As for EFSA, they have a more risk assessment approach, and they make recommendations. At national level, we have many guidelines and guidance booklets developed, and here you have some examples. Also, a recent European project on learning has developed a training tool on enrichment material. So tail biting has been used to assess a range of behavior and lesions, and particularly in this webinar, we will refer to tail biting as any oral manipulation of the tail resulting in a lesion. There can be different levels of lesions, and a good thing, maybe a practical thing, to increase repeatability between observers can be to use the scale of the welfare quality methodology that take into consideration severe tail biting lesions that are the ones where we can detect any sign of blood, any sign of crust, or any sign of infection of the tail. So applying the welfare quality methodology on pigs in different systems in France and Spain, we obtain several prevalences that you have here in the graph. So we have first intensive system, 3 intensive systems. Pigs on concrete floor, including full slatted floor or partly slatted floor. Pigs on straw bedding. Pigs, intensive Iberian pigs. And 2 extensive systems of pigs, extensive Iberian pigs and Majorcan black pigs. So the first thing here that we can notice is that no case of tail biting was observed under extensive conditions, which is an agreement with other studies that describe tail biting behavior as an abnormal behavior, as it is not frequently seen under extensive conditions. A second thing, and this was more surprising, was that under commercial farm, pigs on straw didn't have a lower risk of tail biting. And this can be due to 3 main possible causes. The first one is that under commercial conditions, straw may be not clean enough or not renewed enough, so no stimulating enough exploration. The second thing is, as you can see on the graph, the standard error or the within farm variation between pen variation was very high in pigs on straw, maybe due to the big group size in these systems. And so tail biting can spread more easily within the group, maybe. The third main cause may be that not all type of tail biting may be due to a lack of enrichment material, and we will talk about that later on. So at farm level, we can say that around 2/3 of the farms are affected by a problem of tail biting over a period of 6 months. So tail biting is a multifactorial problem, and the additive effect of each factor has an additive effect on the overall risk of tail biting. And here you have the model of the overflowing glass. The overflowing glass is the one on your right. So here each factor has an accumulation in the risk of tail biting, and you can notice 2 important things. The first one is that the lack of enrichment material, such as straw or straw-like material, is the main risk factor. However, the proper enrichment material may not be enough to prevent an outbreak of tail biting. The second thing is that the factor that trigger tail biting, in this case poor health, might not be the most important one. Tail biting can be assessed in a different way. So tail biting can be assessed by means of the evaluation of risk factors, such as enrichment, its type, property, and position, resources, or management. All these main risk factors will interact with characteristics of the animals, such as the age or the gender, and will form tail biting. In the other side, we can assess more directly tail biting through animal-based indicators that can be directly or more indirectly linked to tail biting. And maybe the most useful ones are the percentage of interactions with the enrichment, the percentage of pig-directed behavior, or the percentage of pen-directed behavior. Further on, we can assess the lesion, tail and ear biting lesions in different ways. So they have different types of tape biting depending on their motivational basis. And we think that the understanding of the etiology of tape biting is important in order to have a better diagnostic of tape biting, a better treatment, and a better prevention. So along this webinar, we will follow the approach proposed by Taylor and collaborators from the University of Bristol and Newcastle University. And they propose the following model. The first type of tape biting is a redirected exploratory behavior, and it is linked to a lack of enrichment material. Another type of tape biting is linked to a situation of competition and frustration. And in the middle, and not less important, all situation of stress and discomfort, as well as many individual factors, will promote the apparition of the two types of tape biting. We will first talk about the first type of tape biting with a principal emphasis on the lack of enrichment material, and at the end of the webinar we will talk more quickly about the second type of tape biting. So under extensive conditions, pigs spend more than 60% of their daytime exploring, even though they are fed ad libitum until satiety. So exploration is a high priority behavior. If pigs cannot explore adequately their environment because of the lack of proper enrichment material, pigs will redirect the exploratory behavior towards other types of objects, or what look like an object, which can be the tails or the ears of the penmates. They will begin to explore the tail or the ear, and dental manipulation can occur, provoking a lesion. So we have a two-step tape biting: first exploration, then dental manipulation with the lesion. This type of tape biting does not have an aggressive motivation. So how can we prevent or treat this type of tape biting in two steps? The things that is, we have to increase manipulation of enrichment material in order to decrease manipulation of tails and ears. And in this sense, the pig directive makes some statements about enrichment material, like this one, where pigs must have permanent access to a sufficient quantity of material, enable proper investigation activities such as straw, hay, wood, sawdust, mushroom compost, etc. However, as you know, sometimes this directive leaves too much room for interpretation or for debate, as sometimes it is difficult to know what sufficient quantity or proper or such as mean. So let's talk now about enrichment material. There are different types of enrichment material, the organic ones and the inorganic ones. There are a lot of types of different materials, and here you just have a sample of them. Organic include straw and straw-like materials, forages, branches, rice hulls, and also substrates such as mushroom compost, peat, sand, and soil, and single objects such as rope and wood, for example. Inorganic objects include the most popular one, for example, chains and plastic pipes and toys. So the question is, are those materials equally effective? And first we have to ask ourselves what effective mean. So in here above you can see the definition of a report from EFSA, where an appropriate enrichment material is defined as a material which stimulates exploratory behavior for an extended length of time, preferably comparable to the level of occupation provided by straw. So what are, according to several studies, the level of manipulation of those materials? So here you have those numbers. As you can see, peaks on straw, so straw but palatable and clean straw, occupied peaks for more or less 15–20% of their time, while single objects, as you can see on your left, occupied peaks for less than 2% of their time. So straw can be an adequate enrichment material compared to other objects. There are intermediate enrichment material, where you can see here the racks where we can provide straw or straw-like material, or also the rope. So let's talk about the behavior, the difference in behavior between pigs on straw and pigs on fully slatted floor. And here you have a study where you can see the prevalence, the occurrence of behavior. And the gray one is are the behaviors from pigs on slatted floor, and the green one are from pigs on straw. So as you can see here, pigs on slatted floor spend more time chewing other pigs, but also other pen features. Also from this study, the percentage, the occurrence of tail biting was much higher in pigs on fully slatted floors than in pigs on straw. So from this type of study, we can say that clean and frequently renewed straw is the most effective type of enrichment to prevent tail biting. However, as we commented before, straw does not prevent totally tail biting. So pigs on deep litter, well-managed deep litter, have a higher stimulation of activities, of chewing activities and rooting. Straw-like litters and material increase gut feel and therefore satiety, and may decrease a little bit activity. And also straw or straw-like material can provide thermal comfort during winter. Here you have a picture taken in the north of Europe of new built farms with pigs on a deep litter. And you can see here how the roof can go up and down to modulate ventilation. And also there is all the structure to clean up the farm and reuse the litter as compost or fertilizer. So in here you have all the weaknesses and the benefits that we can obtain from deep litter for pigs. This is just a summary, but let's go through these weaknesses and benefits. So the first weakness of the deep litter can be the cost in the labor. We have to consider maybe more or less more than 20% with a labor cost of 20% higher in pigs on deep litter compared to conventional systems. And also, and this is one of the critical points, the litter has a cost. And this can be highly variable according to the region where we are building the farm. So in the other side, farms on deep litter have a lower capital cost, more than 60 or 70% lower, and also the litter can be sold with a high value as a fertilizer. The second weakness is that pig on deep litter can, when the litter doesn't have a good hygiene, this can increase the incidence of some diseases, particularly enteric diseases. On the other side, there is no scientific evidence of increased poor health on well-managed deep litter. And the study will more tend to say the contrary, that the performance are better on deep litter, and also some lesions such as lameness have a much lower prevalence on deep litter. Then a third issue is related to the environment, about gas emissions and soil contamination. There is very few studies on that, but a priori, apparently, we could think that there is little or no liquid effluents on deep bedding systems. Also, we can reuse the litter, we can make compost and also sell it as a fertilizer. And well-managed litter produce less other emissions. And we still have two other concerns, two other issues, which is the one of thermal stress, as pigs' deep litter systems can increase the probability to have thermal stress, and also an issue concerning the flies, but we didn't really find any study on the flies. So let's talk a little bit about thermal stress in regions where the climate can become very hot. So here you have some pictures of pigs on deep litter in Australia, in zones where temperature can reach until 42 degrees Celsius. And as you can see here, the buildings are very open, and there is some opening blinds on the side to maximize ventilation. Also, the space allowance is much higher than on conventional systems, with at least 1.2 square meter per pig. And also, there is other tips as providing spray cooling in resting areas in a controlled way. Again, there is very few studies on thermal stress in pigs on deep litter in a region where temperature can be very high. But we know that in Australia these systems are becoming more and more popular, and that there is a study made in Santa Catarina in Brazil, where they found that during the summer the pigs didn't show any sign of thermal stress. So yes, maybe it can be a possibility also under hot climates. And here on the right, you have some tips in order to control soil contamination and gas emissions, such as make a concrete forest bases, a controlled drainage area, avoid moisture, and keep dry lying area, which is very general. Still, we have to keep in mind here that, at least in the European Union, more than 91% of the peaks are on slatted floors. So, yes, deep litter can have a very high potential to promote exploratory behavior and decrease tape biting. However, farmers will have to change their housing systems. And maybe this could be interesting for new buildings or small farms, and especially in regions where litter material is cheap. This is essential. Then another alternative is to find an effective and adequate enrichment material on slatted floor. So let's talk now about this issue. As we just seen before, hay racks appear to be an effective way to stimulate exploration activities. So here you have more or less an occupational level of 4 to 10%. However, again, are those type of enrichment possible on slatted floors? And there is not many studies, but maybe they can be a mess for the management of the slurry systems on fully slatted floor. So yes, we have to think about other ways to use this system. Maybe using chopped or compressed straw can be a good idea. Or also using a hay rack with narrow gaps. But still, we have to think that this system, to be successful, have to be practical for the farmers. So how can we increase the efficiency of enrichment material on slatted floor? The first thing is that the physical property of the material are very important. To be efficient, an enrichment material should be chewable, deformable, destructible, ingestible, and odorous. And as you can see, each one of these properties has a positive reinforcement on the exploratory behavior. Another very important point is the presentation method. And here you have a recent study from Valérie Courboulet from IFIP, where they found that the level of exploration, of manipulation of a fixed chain at floor level was significantly more higher than when chains were provided as nut or at a higher level than 5 centimeters. So in the case of chains, a good alternative will be to fix these chains at floor level. Studying other types of enrichment material, we obtain, some authors obtain the different conclusions, such as here we have two studies that found that plastic toys should be suspended instead of being free in the pen. And here we don't have contradictory results, but all will depend on the type of material that we are using. Chain cannot be easily soiled with feces, whereas plastic toys and other type of objects can be easily soiled with feces, and pigs lose interest very easily and very rapidly with objects that are soiled with feces. Going further on with these studies, again, the French team found that a fixed toy, or in this case a fixed wood, was much more effective to promote exploration, manipulation of the object than an object that was free in the pen. And one exploration one explanation would be that the object, or in the case the wood, was much less soiled with feces when the object was fixed on the floor. Okay, so now we are going on with the novelty effect and with the additive effect of the materials. So pigs decrease their exploratory behavior towards any novel object, independently of their physical property, within 5 days. So how can we promote this interest along all the fattening periods? Here, let's comment a study, a very interesting study from Triket and collaborator. So you have here the percentage of time where the pig is in contact with the enrichment material. And here you can see the manipulation, the percentage of time that the pigs are manipulating the wood in pink color, and the rope in red color. So as you can see here, the rope, which was changed every 2 weeks, as you can see in the 3rd week, it's increased a little bit, the manipulation. So the rope had much higher manipulation than the wood. Then they combine wood and rope at the same time. And as you can see here, they observed an additive effect of the material. So it appears that when we combine different type of material, not the same, but different type, a variety of materials, these have an additive effect on the explorations of the materials. So as more enrichment material, different enrichment material, more exploration activities. And here you have the alternance between the wood, the rope, the wood, and the rope. You can see here that the rope is losing very quickly this novelty effect. And here you have the contrary. So from that study, we can say that rope change every week at least can be a good alternative to potentiate exploratory behavior, and if we can combine materials, it's better. But still, we have to think that an enrichment material, to be successful, has to be practical for the farmers. So maybe changing every week a rope in more than hundreds and hundreds of pens can be too time consuming for farmers in very big farms. So thinking about these types of issues, there are further study, and here again some results from the French team of Valérie Courboulet from IFIP, where they studied the effect of, as you can see here, chain combined with plastic tubes and fixed in the pen. And as you can see in the graph, they obtain a good result of maintain exploratory behavior throughout until 2 weeks, until almost the end on the fattening period. They just decrease manipulation in the 10th week, and this is compared to straw rack that also decrease at the end of the fattening period. So this also could be a good alternative to promote exploration on a fully slatted floor. And again, here we come back with some limitations. Again, think about the practical use of the enrichment. It must be functional, easy to use, and economic. Also think about the availability of the enrichment, the location of the enrichment in the pen. We don't want to bother, we don't want to interfere in the resting behavior or the feeding behavior of the pigs. The number of enrichment material per pig, mostly for high value enrichment, as we don't want to promote aggressive or competition for the material, the enrichment material. The third point is the space allowance. If space allowance is too low, this can inhibit, or this can decrease the potential of the enrichment material. And also, and not least, less important, are the biosecurity issues of the enrichment material linked to the transmission of pathogens between pen and also from batch to batch. So still we have still a long way to do about enrichment issues. And just to illustrate the high motivation of researchers in this field of enrichment material and the pigs, you can see here a Dutch team from the Wageningen University and Utrecht School of Arts that have developed an app that connects your tablet to the farm. And obviously, this is not a realistic tool in commercial farms, but I think it is worthwhile to have a look at this page, as it can be a very good tool to understand and learn more about the cognition and the motivation of the pigs when they are exploring. Okay, so we've talked about the first type of tape biting, with an emphasis on the proper use of enrichment material. And let's talk very quickly about a second type of tape biting, which is linked to situation of competition and frustration. So when pigs are highly motivated to reach a value resource, and they cannot reach this value resource, this will increase their frustration and the competition between the animals. And for some of them, they can bite suddenly the tail of the pen mate. Sorry. So here, contrary to the first type of tape biting, this one has an aggressive motivation. It is an aggression. Any stress factor or stressful situation and situation of discomfort, as well as some individual factors, will potentiate the apparition of both types of tape biting. So stress enhances both types of tape biting, because stress increases the activity of the animals, increasing therefore the first type of tape biting, step one. Stress also increases irritability and decreases the threshold of aggressivity, and therefore increasing the probability to have a sudden or the second types of tape biting, the one that is just in one step. Also, stress increases salt necessity, and this can be an impact on the speed of spread of the outbreak. Here you have a resume of the main risk factors that can potentiate the apparition of tape biting. Poor ventilation, big or high fluctuations of temperature, the poor air quality are a very important risk factor. And as you know, thermal stress is a main risk factor for tail biting. Food management can also increase tail biting. Delayed food increase frustration, and therefore the sudden type of tail biting. And also problems with drinkers, we have the same impact, and high stocking density can affect both types of tail bitings in many different ways. As individual factors, the genetic of the animals can be also a predisposant factor, especially at line or strain level more than breed level. Tail biting had also a higher risk to happen in the mid-growing period. Ill animals that cannot move easily are also more likely to be a victim of tail biting. And animals with chronic painful problem, such as a disease or lameness, for example, can be more irritable animals, and this will increase the probability to have the sudden form of tail biting. Early experience during the farrowing period, for example, are also important, such as the fact of fostering animals, or the type of floor, or the temperature in the nursery. And also, we have to think about more individual factors that maybe are very important. And some individual can be predisposed to be tail biter. For example, as they may have some deficiency in some neurotransmitter, for example, serotonin. The serotonin is a neurotransmitter that derives from the tryptophan, and the lack of serotonin in the blood is associated to an aggressive behavior in several species. So once the tail is bitten, the speed of spread of the outbreak will basically depend on the attraction of the pigs to the blood and also to the management. The attraction of the pigs to the blood is potentiated with the deficiency in salt or deficiency in protein and essential amino acid. Also, it is very important when a case happens that farmers act efficiently and can isolate quickly whether more easily the bitten animals, but also the biters in hospital pens. There have been some recent intervention studies, so it is important to consider that each farm is a particular case and have to be considered as so. A diagnostic should be due, and the treatment should be adequate to the farm. And here you have just a list of some risk factors from the more easily to change for the farmers to the more difficult ones to change. As you can see here, change in the genetic selection or in the bedding, suppose or high stocking density are more difficult to undergo than changes in the diet, for example. So those intervention studies were pretty successful, obtaining a reduction in the levels of tail biting. However, it is true, and it is very important to consider that many changes will depend on the support of the industry and the government agencies. So just a quick look on docking. Docking, and I hope it's clear now that it in no means eradicates biting problems, since the underlying causes of biting have not been assessed, are still there. Docking produce acute pain even in day-old piglets, and also chronic pains for the formation of bundles of nerves in the tail duct, which provoked chronic pain, hypersensibility of the tail. In fact, this hypersensitivity of the tail may explain why applying tail doping, the prevalence of severe lesions tends to decrease, as tail duct animals tend to avoid the exploration of the tail from their colleagues. So tail docking can be seen as a control tool, but not as a preventive or treatment tool. And that's why the PIC directive is making some statement about tail docking. Routing tail docking is not permitted, and tail docking may only be carried out if there is any evidence of a lesion, and when all risk factors have been considered and addressed. So let's now finish with some concluding remarks. So tail biting is a multifactorial problem with several underlying motivational causes. Prevention should focus on the provision of an efficient enrichment material and avoiding any situation that causes competition, frustration, and stress. Practical issues on the use of enrichment tools on slatted floors remain a big challenge. Deep litter bedding systems with straw or other rooting material have a high potential to reduce tail biting, but only if well managed. Finally, tail docking is a suitable tool to control the symptoms of tail biting behavior, but does not guarantee the prevention of an outbreak. So hopefully you're still here or still awake, and we will now wait just 3 minutes in order to give you more time to send the questions. So see you in 3 minutes.
Good afternoon once again, and welcome back. Thank you very much, Deborah, for your presentation. We have plenty of questions. We'll address as many as we can, but probably we will be unable to answer all of them. So we'll answer the ones that we don't cover today through email over the next few days. So let's get started then with one question on whether southern tail biting in restricted feeding systems is somehow similar to vulva biting in restricted fed sows.
Sorry, can you speak a little bit louder? I cannot hear your question.
Okay, yeah, sorry. The first question is whether southern tail biting in restricted feeding systems is similar to vulva biting in restricted fed sows.
Yes, totally, yes. It's a good question. This will be an aggressive act. This type of aggressivity is really linked to the type of second type that we've seen of tail biting, which is the sudden forceful tail biting without prior exploration. So yes, definitively, I would say that in south there can be a correlation or relation between tail beaten, southern tail beaten, and vulva biting. Yes, 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 definitively.
Okay, thanks. One question now on the definition of tail biting that you use. You refer to tail biting as any oral manipulation of the tail leading to injury.
Yes.
Now, the question is, if there is no injury, do you think that we may still have a welfare problem due to pain, stress, or whatever?
Yes, yes, yes. So of course, here we refer as so just to find a way to standardize and also maybe make an easier definition, and also a practical way to assess tail biting. But it's true that any oral manipulation of the tail that does not originate a lesion can be a sign of future tail biting, even though they not a direct correlation between the behavior of manipulating the tail and the lesion. So yes, there is a problem, but maybe it can show us a sign of a lack of enrichment and sign of well, inadequate environment. So if you can, in a more experimental way, it's interesting to know about the percentage of manipulation without lesions. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. One question now on a very practical issue. Do we have any information on how slurry systems can be adapted in slatted farms so that we can handle straw? That's a difficult one.
Yes.
I know, but
this one is very difficult, and it's a very good question too. Well, I think that there is no way to separate the straw which is falling from the slurry system from the effluents. But I think that yes, there could be a way in a practical physical form to put a main of a matrix or a plaque on under the straw racks or where it's provided the enrichment material, in order to prevent straw to form. And also it's very important to consider how is triturated, or which is the form of the straw. For example, compressed straw in form of pellets or chopped straw may be a good way to promote the ingestion from the pig of this material, and in order not to fall within the slurry. That's just what I can say.
Thank you. We have one question on the economic aspects of enrichment. Are you aware of any study looking at the economic cost of implementing an enrichment program as opposed to the economic cost of tail biting? So what is the balance, economically speaking?
No, we didn't think, I didn't find any published study on that. Maybe if you find one, I will be very happy to get it. But we can extrapolate a little bit, but the problem is that there are so much steps between the enrichment until the end of the fattening period. The cost of the performance parameters related also to tail biting directly, and I think it's not an easy thing to do. However, I think we can more or less extrapolate thinking in the price of the enrichment or the litter systems and try to compare with the thing that we are losing. So, but published, I don't have any published.
One question back to the motivational aspects of tail biting. Apparently, there is some evidence linking tail biting with early weaning. Could you expand on this? I mean, is there any strong, solid evidence?
Yes, definitively, this is a risk factor, especially when we compare more natural weaning after 2 months of age and early weaning. But also, it has been found that piglets wean before 17 days old, yes, have a higher risk to be tail biters. Yes, it's important.
Okay, so I think that just to stick to time, we have the opportunity for one more question, a very practical one. You mentioned several times the importance of stocking density, and that high stocking density is a risk factor for tail biting. So do you think we have enough evidence to suggest a maximum stocking density above which tail biting would be very likely to develop, or at least more likely to develop?
Yes, for the end of the fattening period, the recommendation is to have more than 1 square meter per pig.
Okay. Well, thanks very much. I think we have to draw this to an end. I would like to thank you, Deborah, once again for your presentation. Thank you to all of you who have been following the webinar, and particularly to those of you who have sent questions. We are aware that some questions have not been answered, and we will do that through email over the next few days. And please go and have a look to our web page to see what are the new developments in courses, fact sheets, and in the future, some more webinars. So thank you very much, and looking forward to seeing you soon. Bye-bye.